All right, so what I'm going to do is go over a few things with intro to Pear Deck. And so the screen or the slide deck's in the chat. You can use as much or as little as you want. So I'm not sure. I know you said that you went a little bit too into Pear Deck to look at a couple things. So there's two different ways you can get into Pear Deck. The first way is just going to the website, and if you have a high school account and you go to teacher login and you click on that, eventually this will stop spinning, and then it'll ask you for your Google information and all of that stuff. And if you are in the high school and you're using Pear Deck, you're going to see that you have the little crown here, which means we've got a premium account. Thanks to Dr. Mullen, it tells you that you rule. If you are somebody's watching this that's not at the high school, oh, there's a connection issue. That's okay. You still have access to this, but you just won't have as many features as all the others do. So Pear Deck website is a really good site that gives you a lot of different things. This is where you create lessons if you wanted to. You could get a couple of different activities, vocabulary. You know, Marcy, I know you said do a little bit about vocabulary. You could do some stuff there. Honestly, I like to go to Pear Deck through when you have a slide that you've made or that you're going to make. So, you know, however you want to do that. But what you'll want to do is probably start with a slide deck that you've already made, even if it's just something that's basic, that, you know, or one that you know that you want to build upon. But in there, in the add-ons, to get into being able to do anything with Pear Deck for slides, if you go into add-ons, and you're going to see there's a Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on. If that isn't there, I mean, Marcy, you can say something, but definitely let Jim Yeager know, because he is the Pear Deck administrator for us. But in there, you'll click on the add-ons in Pear Deck for Google Slides add-on, and then open Pear Deck add-on. And eventually, what's going to happen is there's going to be a little slide or a little deck on the side here. And in here is going to be a lot of different things. So for us today, we're going to look at building a Pear Deck lesson and template library, and you know, seeing what the various things are that it has to offer. We're going to look at student-paced mode versus instructor-paced activity mode. And those are kind of self-explanatory, but they have some little idiosyncrasies to them that are good to know. And then we're going to look at what a student looks at and what a teacher looks at. So when we look at the template library, which we're going to get into now, there's a bunch of different types of slides that you can put in here. And they're kind of categorized by lesson builder slides with your, you know, before, middle, and after a lesson, with your bell ringers, do nows, your questions, activities, and assessments, stuff like that. And you know, obviously some exit tickets. There's a learning development section that gets into like specific critical thinking skills slides, and then SEL slides that are, you know, are good for you to either gauge, you know, how somebody's feeling in the middle of something, or you know, if you're building something for a hybrid day and you want to see how they're doing at the beginning, and you know, you're looking for something quick and simple, you could do that. And then there's slides that are specific to 5 main content areas: math, science, social studies, world languages, and ELA. So, you know, we're going to get into a little bit more of those and look at some different examples of that. But that's in the template library. And to get to the template library, once you open up Pear Deck here, what you'll be able to do is click on our template library. And that's where you'll be able to pull slides from all of these different categories. So a good example of a slide in that category is going to be, you know, here's example 1 of how was the homework assignment? And this isn't a really great question prompt that they're going to give you. But when I go into the beginning of lesson, I'm going to see that this is one of those that's available in the bell ringer area. But let's say I wanted to change this. So I can adapt and change any slide that we have here. So did you enjoy the debate last night? That's something that you could do. What you'll see and what you'll notice is that once you click on one of these things, and just to add one, I could just click on the actual template that's over here, and it's eventually going to enter my slide deck over here on the side. But what, from your view right now, as a teacher building this, it doesn't look like this does anything. But you're going to notice that once you add in a Pear Deck slide, there's going to be this little pair that comes at the bottom, and then there's going to be, you know, text that comes here. You have got to keep this little footer on there, or else the slide will lose its interactivity. So this is different from, you know, you'll be able to see the difference. You know, here's a slide that I made, and then here's one of those slides down here. So that's super important, and something that I learned the hard way when trying just to hide that. So if you hide that, then it's going to take away some of the powers that has. And then what you'll see here underneath each of these different things is that it will give like a category. If this is a text slide, a drawing slide, you know, here's a draggable slide, and some different things like that. And I can go through, you know, whether it's beginning of the lesson, during the lesson, and these are just suggestions. So you could use any of these and manipulate them as much as you want. Like I could take out this picture and I could add, you know, a different image from, you know, the web of, you know, presidential seal. If I wanted to add that, I could add that in there, and that could be part of my drag, you know, my drag icon that I wanted them to go to. So, you know, these are just beginning parts of it. I would highly, both Kate and I would highly encourage that, you know, get your feet wet with what you want to be able to do with it, but definitely then adapt it and make it your own. Because, you know, did you enjoy the homework last night? It's not a question that most of our kids are going to enjoy. But if you know, depending on what subject area you teach, did you enjoy the debate last night? That could start, you know, a good conversation. So that's an example of one. You know, you could have, you know, another example where this is a drawable one. And in a little bit, what we'll do is we'll see from both the teacher point of view and the student point of view what it looks like to do a Pear Deck lesson. And that one's going to be more independent based. But here's another example that, you know, I just pulled from the middle of things. And then, you know, here's a third example where the kids are now drawing. So before here, it was also drawing one, but this is, you know, where they could type or draw in here. And more of a reflective, this is potentially a, you know, exit ticket idea. If you're looking, you know, if you want something different and you want to do something different than, you know, the Flipgrid or the Jamboard or anything else that you've been doing. And, you know, you can go through here and you can see, it's not an exhaustive list, but it's a good amount of questions or different slides that you can do. And obviously, like I said, these are suggested type of slides during a lesson, but you may find one that works better for a different part of a different flow of your lesson. And then when we get into the critical thinking and SEL slides, so, you know, these are for your learning development parts of things. And in here, same as we saw with, you know, the different times, it's going to give you some options of templates that you would want to use. So like I said, some of these are great. A lot of these, you know, you'll probably want to make your own once you get comfortable. You know, here would be an example of one. And again, just to reiterate, you can see that this is a Pear Deck interactive slide based upon what's down here at the bottom. So you cannot remove this or you lose the interactivity. You know, here's a fact or opinion, you know, or maybe a yes or no. Did, you know, President Trump won the debate last night? Is that a fact or is it an opinion? You know, and again, these are simple examples. You know, here would be, oops, I'm too far ahead. Here would be an example of an SEL one. So the SEL ones can be used at any given time, you know, and we're all looking to you know, connect with our kids, whether they're with us or not. So this is something, you know, here's a stress check. You could do this at the beginning of if you've got an A student, every B student before they get into different things, you could do a stress check or something like that to see where they are. And what I'll be able to show you is where you can actually comment back to the student, whether you're in an instructor-led activity or you know, a student-led one. And then we can get into subject areas. And in subject areas, like I said earlier, there's stuff for littles, which won't apply to us at the high school, but there's math, science, social studies, world languages, and ELA. And here would be some different examples of ones that you might see. So, for anybody that is in the social studies world, change over time. And you can change these, I can do, if, we're looking at world, US history, we could do from 1789 to, 1900, whatever you wanted to do and see there. And that is something that, do how did government change? And so instead of doing religion, we do government, and that's going to apply much more to our time period of what we're doing at this point in time. We can get into cause and effect. Just a couple of different examples that we wanted you to be able to see. As you go through, we definitely encourage you to go and see, what is available. So in world languages, here's some fill in the blank stuff that you could do. I'll add this in here, but like I said, all you have to do is click on that, and then once it works, it's a little bit slow with the difference between, now I can change whatever I wanted to. I could do my, whatever language is appropriate here. I could do all of those different things, and the kids could then interact and draw on this slide. So when they draw, you'll be able to see that they'll be able to type it out if that's what you want them to do and stuff like that. And then, a math example, and we could keep going on for days and days and days of different things. So in terms of the template library, that gives us a beginning part of what that has to offer. And like I said, once you get comfortable with it and you're looking at what you want to see, then you can start making it your own. You can add graphics that aren't there. You could replace graphics that are there. And we'd highly encourage you to do that, just with anything. Once you get out of that, you can hit the back arrow, and we're still building right now. You could also add actions to slides. So you could add actions to slides that are already Pear Deck slides, or you can add actions to your own slides that you've already made. So here would be an example of one where I wanted to add a draggable activity. So for me, I had a map of the United States. You could do a map of the world, a map of Rome, whatever you wanted to do. You could do a picture, a political cartoon, any of those different things. And once you're on that slide, you can, I'm just gonna manipulate this one. What you can do is you can add a draggable activity by clicking on one of the different things over here that says ask students a question. And when you do, a screen is going to pop up. And hopefully, Kate, if you're out there, can you see this? We're going to assume yes. And then what I can do is I can add draggable things that I want to have here. So it can be a dot, it could be a flag, it could be an arrow. I can change the color, all of those different things. I can make it bigger, I can make it smaller, whatever is going to work for you. And then when I update the slide, what's going to happen is it will adding the interactive question. And then at the bottom, you'll see that this is now a Pear Deck slide. So I'm going to get rid of that just because I don't want it to be. And then I can get rid of all of this stuff. But here, you can add, any draggable things that you want to hear. Here was an example of, I posed a simple math question. What I did is I did a multiple choice. And so here, you can add, here are the things I currently have, but here are the different choices I could have and I could want, and then I could update the slide to that. And now I have, the Pear Deck option of what that looks like. You can add a video or you can add an article. So here are two different examples. And so when I do that, you're going to see that there's an option for a website. If I click on that, you can add a website or a text for them to read. And then you could have, different things that you want to put in there for whatever reason. It'll let you preview that. So if you had an article you wanted them to read and respond to in whatever way, you could do that. You could do the same thing for a video and all of those different things here. The other thing that you can add is you can add audio to a slide. So here's where you could use your own voice. and record yourself with maybe giving directions, providing, input for what they should be doing or whatever that is. You could also, if I click on that, what's going to come open is this box, and you can see that there's a record option or there's an upload option. So, you could upload yourself already recorded, or you could upload a speech, the Gettysburg Address, and that could be, your primary source document that you wanted to use. If you are, a world languages teacher, you could upload yourself or somebody speaking in that, that native language that the students are studying, and then that's what you're able to have them to make sure you're still authentically speaking in the language, and not breaking that, those directions and stuff like that. And if I hit record, it'll allow me to do all of my recording right now, and you can see that it's going. So I'll hit pause, and I'll hit save, and I'm going to hit audio, add audio to that. That's going to be like a 30-minute part, and then you're going to see the little button that you can put anywhere. I'll put my audio right here, and it's going to be there for the kids to listen to and all of that stuff. And we'll show that part at a different time. So in terms of building, and what our first, goal for today was looking at different ways that you could build stuff. So as we talked about, you could get into the template library and you could build from a number of different things, maybe. And, whether it's through lesson builders that are specific slides just to that, learning development ones in SEL, or subject specific ones that gives you templates to begin, you can build them all that way. You can also ask questions or add different parts of that that make it interactive for the student by looking at some of these ask questions things that you have here. What we'll do next is we'll look at this from the teacher and the student point of view. So Marcy, if you want to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the option to get into this if you want to. So to start a lesson for Pear Deck, once you've made your slides, you're happy with what everything looks like, and you're ready to go, what you'll do is you'll go to start lesson. And when you start lesson, it's going to give you two options: student-paced activity and instructor-paced activity. So student-paced is going to be that asynchronous learning. It's going to be whenever they're working at their mode of and pace of learning. You could do that if you're doing station rotation in your classrooms. You could do that on hybrid days, whatever that looks like. Instructor-paced is going to be where you're doing that in real time, whether it's virtually or everybody's in the classroom with you. When you do instructor-paced, which we're not going to do today, that's where you're going to have to move them along as they go. So I'm going to click on student-paced mode, and you're going to see another screen pop up for me. And once it loads, this is going to be the teacher dashboard. So once it gets there, and I'll put essentially, okay, don't show this again. Got it. So you're going to see this is now me as a teacher, and I'm in here and I can see that my kids are going at student pace. If I want to share out the code, what I can do is I can copy the link, or I can have the kid, the students go to joinpd.com and enter in this code. So I'm going to copy the link. And for me, I'm going to go into another thing as a student, and then I'll put this in the chat if you want to get in. And if you don't, that's fine too, if you just want to watch and see how this goes. So from the teacher point of view, I'm going to be able to go through and I'm going to be able to see all of the things that the kids have done so far. And right now you're going to see that there are no responses. I'm waiting for responses for all of these different things that we have for interconnectivity or interaction. I'm going to go over to this part here. So now I'm going to look at it from the student point of view. So each time it's going to ask, how are you feeling? And I'm feeling good today. It's a Wednesday. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to be able to go at my own pace. So what I'll be able to do is click on these arrows and go through. So I'll be able to look at today's agenda and goals, all of these things that we've done. And now I'm going to get to my first Pear Deck interactivity slide. And so for here, it's going to be a drag this in. But let's say I'm not really sure how to read these. What you're going to do is you're going to be able to see at the bottom, there's a book with the sound bar. If I click on that, this is what they call their immersive reader options. Okay, and I can click on this and it's going to read everything that we have there. I can change the text size. I can make it bigger if I want to. I can increase spacing. I can change my font and my themes to be able to see that if that, whatever works, whatever is needed. I can change all of these different things. And one of the biggest things that I think is really, really important is I can change the language. So if I am an English language learner and I want to change my language, I can go to Spanish. And maybe I didn't do it wrong, but you can change, of course not. We can, change the language, and there we go. Now it's moved over. Okay, and I can do that. Once I get out of there, it's going to go back to the regular slide, but that's something that we can do. So I'm going to put my dot over here, and I'm going to keep going. So I can go through this whole thing. If I wanted to add text, I could add text, and the central idea is and keep going. I can move through all of these different things. So here's what it looks like as a student. I'm going to jump over quickly to my teacher dashboard, and I see that there are 2 students in here now. I'm going to change my grid layout, and I'm going to go to here. And for me, I will be able to change to grid if I want to, and I can see who my students are that are in here. So if I wanted to, I could click on, yours specifically, and I could add a comment or leave feedback. So I'm actually going to do it to myself, but great job. What was your favorite part? And I could send that feedback. As a student, I can see now that you have feedback. And I can do those different things, and I can read that. I can't necessarily do anything with it, so I wouldn't have never asked to another person, what was your favorite part? But I can, go to the slide or mark that as read. And as a teacher, I can continue to go through and see, anything that anybody did at that point in time. So I'll be able to see, all of those different things. I can also go through and I can change if this is a student, turn off student paste. So I'm going to do that because I want everybody to look at, we'll go back to your question here in a second, Marcy. I want to lock everybody's screen. So I want to lock them on making connections. And I want to do that here. What you're going to see is that I can't do anything with that. It's going to say your teacher has locked responses for the slide. So this would be better if you have these kids in your classroom or you're doing a teacher instructor-led one, but I can unlock that and I can turn it back onto student paste, and now everybody can keep going. The last thing I'll show you, just because I'm going to run out of time, well, we can keep going as long as you want. I can go here and I can show that. I could get into all of these different things. And here's where, we can see, and I could type in my answers to the fill in the blanks. And now here's where I can start dragging and dropping and adding these different parts. And one of the last things I'll show you, so this is going to open up, you can see the prompt that you have here along with that part. And for some reason, my Mac isn't using video right now. but you're going to see that there's an audio included right here. And if I click on that, it's not going to do anything because I need to click on the audio here and it's now going to play it. So that's one of those little things to know about with Pear Deck. But from a student point of view, this is kind of the view, and I see, Marcy, that you're in here doing a couple of different things. But I think you had a question. So they will have it in their question was, is the slide deck something they'll always have? You'll have to keep it open for them to do that. And once you're done and you end it, it's going to be in their Pear Deck, like their account that they have here that they can go back and access, as long as you saved it. If you delete it or you don't name it or anything like that, then they won't. But as long as you do that, you'll be good to go. Marcy, do you have any other questions? You can turn on your mic if you want.
No, I think I'm good for right now. That answered the question. I wasn't sure if this was something with the interactiveness, like they can only access it and see it just when we're there doing it together. That's why I had asked that.
No, that's a great question. No, that's a really great question. So then after the fact, like if you had content you wanted them to be in there, you could do that. And then the last thing that I'll show, to be respectful of your time, in the orchard, so in that slide deck, this is clickable. But I think it is. If I didn't, let me add it now. But you'll be able to go here, and this is going to give you some of those templates that we talked about. And then here are just 20 ways you use Pear Deck to engage students. So I'm going to stop recording now. But if you have any questions as you go through,